Aesop's Fables, The Woman and the Farmer. A woman who had lately lost her husband used to go every day to his grave and lament her loss. A farmer who was engaged in plowing not far from the spot set eyes upon the woman and desired to have her for his wife. So he left his plow and came and sat by her side and began to shed tears himself. She asked him why he wept, and he replied, "I have lately lost my wife, who was very dear to me, and tears ease my grief." "And I," she said, "have lost my husband." And so for a while they mourned in silence. And then he said, "Since you and I are in like case, shall we not do well to marry and live together? I shall take the place of your dead husband, and you that of my dead wife." The woman consented to the plan, which indeed seemed reasonable enough, and they dried their tears. Meanwhile, a thief had come and stolen the oxen which the farmer had left with his plow. On discovering the theft, he beat his breast and loudly bewailed his loss. When the woman heard his cries, she came and said, "Why are you weeping still?" To which he replied, "Yes, and I mean it this time."
Aesop's Fables, The Swallow and the Crow. A swallow was once boasting to a crow about her birth. "I was once a princess," said she, "the daughter of a king of Athens, but my husband used me cruelly and cut out my tongue for a slight fault. Then, to protect me from further injury, I was turned by Juno into a bird." "You chatter quite enough as it is," said the crow. "What you would have been like if you hadn't lost your tongue, I can't think."
Aesop's Fables, The Goatherd and the Wild Goats. A goatherd was tending his goats out at pasture when he saw a number of wild goats approach and mingle with his flock. At the end of the day, he drove them home and put them all into the pen together. Next day, the weather was so bad that he could not take them out as usual, so he kept them at home in the pen and fed them there. He only gave his own goats enough food to keep them from starving, but he gave the wild goats as much as they could eat and more. For he was very anxious for them to stay, and he thought that if he fed them well, they wouldn't want to leave him. When the weather improved, he took them all out to pasture again, but no sooner had they got near the hills than the wild goats broke away from the flock and scampered off. The goatherd was very much disgusted at this and roundly abused them for their ingratitude. "Rascals," he cried, "to run away like that after the way I treated you." Hearing this, one of them turned around and said, "Oh yes, you treated us all right. Too well, in fact. It was just that put us on our guard. If you treat newcomers like ourselves so much better than your own flock, it's more than likely that, if another lot of strange goats joined yours, we should then be neglected in favor of the last comers."